Everyone, welcome to a new 4K update video. Seem to be doing one of these every year. I have a little bit here, not like last video. Be more like same as like the first one, but still I like doing these videos, and you know, they're a lot of fun to do, and so want to keep up the every year thing. So, you know, same as last year. And let's get started. So first up, I think the newest release, is Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Now, I didn't have enough time to do a whole lot of research on these, to like say which ones are true 4K, which ones are not, but I do know like some of them off like by heart. Like, yeah, I know that's film, I know that. But Batman Mask of the Phantasm, they put this out on 4K not too long ago, like a couple months ago. And I'm a big fan of the animated series, so when I was watching the animated series and found this, my dad, who got me into that show, said, "You gotta watch this. It's so good. It's like an extended animated series episode." And I'm like, wow, this is really good. And this came out in theaters too, and it bombed. But still really cool. It has one featurette on here, and it's about Kevin Conroy. You know, he's my favorite Batman. You know, both, you know, if I had to pick live action, I would probably have to go with Keaton, but as overall, it's Conroy. He is my Batman. But you know, if you haven't seen the film, I recommend picking this up. You're not going to get a whole lot of extras. Like I said, there's one featurette on here, but that's pretty much it. But you know, if you're a fan of the film, you probably already own this, but pick it up if you haven't seen it. Next up, Quiet Place Part 2. I talked about first Quiet Place already, and I know not a lot of people liked this one. I did. You know, I liked the continuation. I liked the story and how they were able to find an island, like a separate island that was cut off from civilization. And I was like, you know, as long as there's a movie theater there, there's, you know, food I like, and, you know, a good internet service, I'd live there. But yeah, I know not a lot of people liked this one, but personally I did. After seeing Day One, which I will eventually get on 4K, this one is the weakest. You know, I also think I like John Krasinski. I think he did a really good job with both these movies. His If movie, but I enjoyed it enough, and you know, I definitely rewatch it. And I showed my little brother the first film, and I'm like, well, there's another one, and he's just like, okay. Next, Alien Romulus. Jeez, it's morning, and you know, I'm not good with morning. The first, I would say, really good Alien film since Aliens. As much as, you know, I liked Prometheus and was it Covenant, when I first saw them, I liked them, but then over time it was like, yeah, okay, he kind of, especially with Prometheus, he was like distancing himself away from the Alien storyline, and was going with more like how human beings and mankind's creation, which is interesting, just not in an Alien film. But luckily, Fede Alvarez came around and did this, and I haven't watched it despite the, you know, plastic being off on it, but I did rewatch this with my family, and they did change. Was it Ian Holm because I remember I saw it in the theater and it just looked weird. It looked really strange, and that was one of the things I didn't like. And then they actually took the time to go in and fix it, because they did say like they were rushed, like they were kind of rushing to get it out. So I'm really glad that they took the time to actually fix that for the home release. So, you know, like I said, I rewatched this, and I have a few friends that haven't seen this and they want to. So I'm like, hey, just come over and watch this. So yeah, definitely get it. Next, Puss in Boots. I will get Last Wish, because I think Last Wish is better. But this movie, I have kind of a soft spot for this movie. I mean, it's really good. I still enjoy it, but I have a soft spot for this movie because my dad used to work for a company that would make like almost like merchandising for films. He didn't like work with the studios. He didn't work directly with the studio, but he worked with them, like almost like contractor. And he got tickets to the premiere of this, so I actually got to see, you know, I actually went down to, it was the Foxy and the Bruin in Hollywood, which was really cool. And I got to see, was it Antonio Banderas, Selma Hayek, and what's his name, Zach Galifianakis, and that was pretty cool. That was really cool. So I have a soft spot for this movie, and it was like, wow, a Shrek spin-off film that didn't suck. Because at the time, I think this is when I believe the 4th Shrek film was out, I think. And that kind of was like like, okay. And yeah, I still really enjoy this movie, but Last Wish, that movie is phenomenal. Longlegs. I enjoyed the marketing for this movie. I loved how it was very like, it didn't tell you exactly what the film was. It gave off like a Silence of the Lambs type vibe, and it is. I've told people who haven't seen this, it's like Longlegs mixed with like supernatural, like demonic type stuff. It's like if Buffalo Bill was practicing like demonic practices. You got this. And I really enjoyed this movie. It's one of those movies I want to have a bunch of friends over and sit down and show it to them and not tell them anything about it. And the only thing I've told this to a couple people who haven't seen it. It's basically Silence of the Lambs, but with demonic practicing. And Nicolas Cage does his best impression of Buffalo Bill. And they're like, I want to see that. And I'm like, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want to see that? So if you haven't seen Longlegs, and if you like your murder mysteries, or not murder mysteries, but like giallo type films, you know, like cop investigating, murdering, watch this. All right, Smile 2. I talked about first Smile, I think last video. And I was kind of going like, all right, what are you guys going to do with the second one? Like, what are you going to possibly do? And all my expectations were very low, but I was like, wow, they actually did a really good job. And I actually enjoyed this one more than the first one, because I think I talked about it in my review for this. It felt like the first movie, they were trying to do stuff that they wanted to do more stuff, but they couldn't because they didn't want to step on any toes. This actually felt like this is what they wanted to do. Whereas like, okay, the first one made money, you know, we were successful, it was actually really good. Let's make this one, because this is actually what we wanted to do. So yeah, from like, you know, performances and, you know, especially cinematography wise, it's like really well done in this. I showed the first one to my mom, and she was kind of freaking out a little bit during it, and I was just like, wait till you watch this one. Saw X. I have another one, some here. I can't remember where I put it, but Saw X. Honestly, the best Saw films since, honestly, I would say 6. I would give 6 because 6 was actually a little interesting. But to me, the best one since, I would say 2, because the first one is obviously, to me, the first one is the best. But I also have a big, big heart for James Wan, so that's kind of cheating. But 2 was like, oh wow, you actually were able to do a really good story with this, and it worked. And then the sequels just kind of went, all right, we're just gonna pad this crap out. Then they did this one, and I was like, what are you guys gonna possibly do? And the big issue I do have with this is that it's a prequel. It takes place between 1 and 2. But the issue is that if you're gonna do a prequel to like movies that were like 20 years ago, they look older. It was like the Orphan thing. It was like you guys waited. I think you waited a little too long to do this, or to do this story. But it was like, wow, that was actually really good, and it was one of the first times that I watched in the series, and it actually made me go, ugh. Like, it actually, like, kind of didn't gag, but like was like, oh god. And I've only done that, I think, maybe like 3 times during the series. So yeah, this was actually pretty good. And while 11 may be dead, maybe not be dead, I don't know, I think this was a good way to end it. Beetlejuice. I want to eventually get the 4K for 1. There's, a bunch of extras on here. I think I talked about it in like previous ones where Warner Brothers seems to be kind of slow on the releasing physical media. Sony is the quickest, but their stuff is always expensive, and it like never drops down. Universal is the crappiest because they love to put like certain movies like Oppenheimer and another movie coming up on 4K, but then they'll put like Megan or like Abigail on Blu-ray, where it's like, okay, I don't really need those on 4K, but I would like to have them on 4K. But anyway, I saw this with my family, and I think out of all of us, I was the one that liked it the most, because my family's just kind of like, how is this really weird? And I'm like, yeah, but that's Beetlejuice, but that's also Tim Burton too, so what can you do? But I feel like, if the more times I'll rewatch this, the more I'll like it more, despite the issues I had. Like so many subplots going on, and then some that I felt like could have been merged with one another, and they didn't do that. But I still think it's a fun film. Actually, scratch that. It's not the Batman is not the latest release. Companion. Completely forgot about it. As of right now, this is still my favorite film of the year. I went into it thinking like, okay, this is at least going to be, interesting and good, but I was so like happy on how much it was so good. It was so clever, and this is one of those movies where I've told everybody, like, you gotta watch this, like, you gotta watch it. And I actually pitch it as like, couple goes to, like a retreat with their friends, and just shit gets nuts. That's pretty much all I tell them, because, the more you tell them, the more you're kind of spoiling the good stuff in this movie. So if you haven't seen this movie, definitely watch it. I think it's on Max right now, but yeah, so good. All right, Constantine. This is the new, I think, 20th? Yes. 20th anniversary release from Warner Brothers. This movie, it actually took me a while to watch it, because the first time I watched it, I didn't even really watch it. I saw like bits of it growing up, but then finally I sat down and watched it, and I just went, this is so much better than people give it credit for. Like, yeah, the CG, they were kind of during the time when, you know, practical was kind of going away, but at the same time CG wasn't in its prime. It was still like experimental. It was kind of like the Thing prequel, where it was like yeah, practical effects are kind of going away, which sucks, and then CG is at the point where it's like, yeah, this is still needs some work. But you know, this is still a fun movie. I tell people like or people ask me like, what's one of your favorite Keanu Reeves movies? And like, if I got rid of like The Matrix or John Wick, it would be Constantine. I think he is a really good John Constantine, and I'm really glad they're doing a second one. It's just taking them forever. All right. Hear me out. So, I bought this. No one gave it to me. Nobody gifted it to me. I didn't find it on the street. I legitimately bought this thing. And here's why. This movie is so bad that I would watch it again in a heartbeat. I would watch this again. Like, I've told so many people, like, I would legitimately watch this again. And the same thing with Kraven. Same thing with Kraven the Hunter. Like, these two movies are so bad. I wanted to get Kraven on 4K, but I've only found like a Steelbook version, and I'm just like, I'm not a Steelbook kind of guy. I mean, if it's the only thing available, then maybe I'll get it, but it was never dropping down in price. It was always like $50, and I just went, screw that. So I got this. But to be honest, I kind of enjoyed this one more than Kraven on the bad scale. Like, you know, like there's so many things in this movie. I mean, I talked about it in my review for it, but there's so many things about this movie that is like, so like a child can point that out and say like, you did that wrong. It's unbelievable. And the fact that they'll have like a visually stunning thrill ride. They got paid to say that, but that's why I have it, is because it's one of those movies where it's like, you know what? It's like, you know, somebody will pull out like a bad movie, you know, and say like, hey, have you seen this? And I go, yeah. Have you seen this? So, you know, I'm that kind of guy. So, you know, don't judge me. That's why I have it. So, you know, I'm that kind of guy that will collect bad movies. Like, eventually on Shout Factory, I want to get their Blu-ray for Sleepwalkers, because I think that movie is just so bad that it's hilarious on how bad it is. It's like, wow, you guys actually made this? So, yeah. Right. Next, Maxine. I do have the first two. I do have X and Pearl. Unfortunately, they're not on 4K, which is a bummer, because A24 really doesn't do a whole lot of 4K stuff. They'll do it like somewhere eventually down the line, but it seems like only recently they started really putting stuff on 4K. So if they're gonna do like a re-release of X and Pearl on 4K, I will be getting those. You know, despite the issues I had in this one, I still think it was a fun movie. You know, it's, to me, it's the weakest. My favorite one, I've said it, my favorite one is Pearl, because it's very, I love how colorful it is, and, you know, the time period is the 1910s, I believe, and just how visually stunning it looked, and how they added the, like, psychotic killer aspect to it. I just love that. X would be second place because the casting in that one I thought was really good. And actually, I think it was X Yeah, it was X that introduced me to Mia Goth and actually Jenna Ortega before she was in Scream. It was X and Scream 5, which is that's where I really saw her, because I didn't see that Babysitter sequel because I heard it was shit. And I'm like, wow, she's really good. And then when she was cast as Wednesday, I was like, you know what? I like that. That's good casting. I think she could pull it off, and she has. But this movie, X introduced me to like Mia Goth, and I was like, wow, she's really talented. And then I found out she's married to Shia LaBeouf, and I'm just like, okay. But despite me having issues with this one, and I do think it's the weakest one, it's still a lot of fun. It's a fun, like, 80s, like, slasher film with a detective story on top of it, and it's pretty cool. So I'd rewatch this one again. Okay, next, Men in Black. This is the, I think, 30th anniversary Steelbook. It did come with a one of those like paper slap-ons on the back, and then, honestly, I just got rid of it because it's just annoying as hell. So I ripped it off. I don't care. But I rewatched this one not too long ago, and I was like, wow, this still holds up. Like, this is still really funny, and I keep forgetting how short it is too. It's like barely over an hour and a half. It has all these like fantastical things in it. But yeah, if you're a fan of the film, probably already have this. But if you don't, I'd recommend picking this up. It's still a great film. Monkey Man. Here's the Universal pick. They put this and Oppenheimer out on 4K. Well, Oppenheimer makes sense because it was Christopher Nolan, and he actually shot on IMAX and on film. I don't really know about this one, but it was kind of like okay, I enjoyed that, and yeah, I would pick it up on 4K because I did really like it. But yeah, Universal is kind of crappy on the 4K releases. Like, they only do like certain picks, which is stupid. But what pulled me into this film was the fact that Jordan Peele was producing it. And it actually was just going to get dumped onto Netflix until Peele saw it. And was like, nope, this needs to go to theaters. And so he managed to tell Universal, like, hey, we're releasing this in theaters. And it was really cool that they did, because it was visually very stunning. So pick this up. All right. Joker. The Joaquin Phoenix one. I think, out of all the people that I've talked to about this film, I think I was the one that actually like really enjoyed this one. So, because a lot of my friends were just like, it was just way too much, and I'm like, but it's Joker. It's supposed to be like insane, and it was like, wow, you guys did a side story, and you guys didn't have to focus or rely on Batman to help that out. I did not like how they tried to weave in the Bruce Wayne a little bit. That felt a little shoehorned in. But I really enjoyed the film, and then the sequel came out, and that was shit. The Exorcist. This is the... God, I can't read that. I think this is the 45th or maybe 50th anniversary, which comes with both cuts of the film, the theatrical and the director's cut, which I've seen both. And the director's cut, I think is really good. Actually, I think it was the director's cut that I saw growing up, because I remember I went to, there was this, like, back when I used to live in California, nearby, there was this theater that was like the cheapo theater. It would play all the movies that like weren't in the major theaters anymore, and every Thursday night they would have like a throwback screening, and I went to a couple of those, and The Exorcist was one of them. And they played the theatrical version, and And I was like, I don't remember that. Like, where was this scene? You know, like, there wasn't this scene. Like, this scene was cut out. I'm like, what version am I watching? And then my friend who I was with said, like, oh yeah, that was the theatrical cut. And I just went, oh, so the whole time I've been watching the director's cut. And he went, yeah. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So I think I've only watched the director's cut after that, because I was just like, yeah, that kind of irritated me a little bit. It was kind of like me with like Army of Darkness. I only grew up watching the theatrical cut, and then I watched the director's cut, and I was like, okay, I'm liking this, I'm liking it, I like all the new stuff. And then the ending plopped on, and I just went, yeah, okay, that's very an Ash thing, but I don't like the ending. Now, if they kept all like the director's, like pretty much the director's cut in there, and then changed it to the theatrical ending, I would have been really happy. But, you know, people ask me like, are you ever going to watch the director's cut again? I'm like, honestly, probably not. But with this one, it's one of those, like, I've only watched the director's cut, but I'm glad it gives you both, because they're generous like that, despite it being Warner Brothers. But it's a classic. You know, if you haven't seen it, you know, it's classic in horror. You know, just watch it. And I'm really looking forward to Mike Flanagan's version of that, because I'm a big Flanagan fan, because the last film, The Exorcist Believer, that was shit. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I talked about, I think it was in the first video, I talked about, I have the Ghostbusters like Ultimate Collection set, which comes with 1, 2, and Afterlife, and then comes with a code, like a digital code for the remake, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I have this mainly because I'm a collector. You know, would I rewatch this one again? If I did like a Ghostbusters marathon, then sure, I'd watch this again. There was enough in there where I was like, okay, that was kind of cool. Despite the issues I had, I still think, you know, it was a fun movie. But yeah, this wouldn't be one where I'm like, yeah, like, oh, I gotta watch that one. It's like, no, you know, you could say this is a coaster, but you know, it's a fun coaster. And my friends and some of my family liked that one a lot more than I did, and I'm the Ghostbusters fanatic out of all of them. So, you know. Next up is 2 films. Spider-Verse movies. We have Into and then Across. But, you know, Into, I saw Into in the theaters. I did not get a chance to see Across because it came out in like December. And December's kind of my month to watch stuff that I didn't see the rest of the year, and kind of like, okay, do I need to see that? Do I not need to see that? And it was one of those, like, I didn't have time to go see Across. Wanted to, but I didn't have time. So I didn't see it until like the very end of the year. Oh no, it didn't come out in December. What am I doing? I watched it in December. God. Yeah, because I remember, because it was on my best of list. And yeah, shame all the stuff about the guy who plays Miles, like, you know. So I don't know what they're gonna do, but they did say it's gonna be 2027, which, you know, they better hurry up. So if you're a fan of Spider-Man and you haven't seen these, go watch them. They're actually some of the best, not just comic book movies, but I would say animated films in general. Like, the amount of time and effort they put into the animation and the writing is just superb. I love these. And I've had friends watch them who are not really into Spider-Man, and they loved these movies. And I was like, yep. And now it's just get my dad to watch these, because, you know, he likes Spider-Man too. So, yep. Oh, yep, here it is. Spiral. Like I talked about with Saw X, this was the other one I had that actually I had when I did previous videos, and I just forgot about it. There's another one coming up that I know I had when I did my last video, and I just forgot about it. But Spiral, I have all the Saws. I have 1 through 7. Yes, no, 8. 8 because this is 9. 1 through 8 on Blu-ray. I have them like in a pack, and so 9 and 10 are like I have them because collector, and I now I have all of them because I've seen all of them. And this one was kind of like all right, I see the idea here. I like the idea. I think Chris Rock does a really good job with this, but the first 2 acts I was really going with it, and then the 3rd act happened, and I was like, oh, writing just went. So, yeah, you could say much like with Ghostbusters, this is a coaster, but I think there's a lot of good ideas in here, and I really liked the first 2 acts, and I really liked Chris Rock. He was being serious in this, and it was kind of cool to see Samuel L. Jackson be in a Saw film, even though it was kind of like what are they going to do with him? But yeah, it was the 3rd act that really brought the movie down for me. But I still have it because, I have all the Saw films. Next up, Talk to Me. This was the other one that I completely forgot about. For those of you who don't know about this movie, if you've seen the video on YouTube, the sketch of the banned McDonald's commercial, where it's the guy, he's like pretending to be McDonald's, and like with a free Happy Meal get a free Ronald McDonald, and he like does all these things with the kids, like has fun with the kids, and then one of them has it was Jack in the Box, but it was Australia, so Hungry Jacks. And then he gets all pissed off and just starts like punching and beating up the crew. Well, those two are brothers, and they made this film. And I found that out later, and I was like, oh my god, that's really cool. So this is another prime example of YouTubers can actually, make good stuff. They're actually creators. They're not like the Paul brothers where they're just idiots. Yes, I said it. But it's just this took me completely by surprise, because it took much like a Companion. It took a concept where it was like, okay, we've seen this done numerous times. What new stuff are you guys gonna do with it? And this goes, okay, what if we take demonic possession and almost treat it like it's a drug, like it's an addiction? And it was like really cool the way they did it, and the fact that this got greenlit a sequel and a prequel is crazy. So we will get a Talk to Me trilogy, but before that, we're getting a movie called Bring Her Back, which looks pretty cool. Last 2 films here. And they're actually technically part of a set. I'll explain why if you don't know. South Park Big Long and Uncut. This is the 25th anniversary that they put out, I think, last year. I did a review for it because I actually went and saw it for its 25th anniversary. They re-released it back in theaters. So I went and saw it, and it was actually a sing-along version, which is actually a part of this that gives you, includes theatrical and sing-along versions. Which, the sing-along version, was just, they put the lyrics up on the screen. That was it. But unfortunately, the sing-along version is on the Blu-ray. The theatrical is the 4K. So depends on what version you want to watch, but if you don't know me, I'm a big fan of South Park. I actually think they're really funny. I find that humor very funny, and seeing this it was actually a really good theater experience, because I saw this with a bunch of fans of South Park and the movie, and they were pretty much like everyone in the theater was singing along, just like it's everyone, like people will be laughing, and then all of a sudden everyone just starts singing "It's Easy, Gay." Like, it's just so funny. So yeah, if you don't like South Park, of course you're not gonna like this. But the transfer on this is actually pretty good. It actually kind of still captures that, like, because this was 99. It still captures that kind of look to it. Of like South Park back in its early years. So it actually does a really good job with this transfer. I will say the audio The dialogue scenes are fine, but then when it gets to the songs, they then bump the audio back up. So there were a couple times where I did have to like turn it down a little bit. It wasn't too distracting, mainly because it was also a musical, so it's kind of expected. But still, I enjoy the film, and you know, that's why I got it. Last film. Team America World Police. This was the 20th because they released both these at the same time, because this was 25, this is 20. I love satire. I love satire movies, and South Park is very satire, and this very much is. And I still come across people that tell me like why are they so like, they were all so like gung-ho and like destruction and then mayhem, like, because that was the time that this came out in. Like, you really need to look at, you know, history, especially in America, like military history in America during 2004. But one of my favorite things about it is rated R for graphic, crude, and sexual humor, violent images, and strong language, all involving puppets. I forget what South Park says. Oh, nothing. The fact that they put it in the actual MPA rating, all including puppets, and you know, they all look great. But this also comes with the theatrical and the unrated cut. So like, you know, if you know, like, there's a sex scene in here that's like, I think like 2 minutes long. They said there was like maybe like 4 minutes long, and that's in the uncut version. Yeah, so if you haven't seen Team America and you're a big fan of South Park, where have you been? You need to watch this. It's weird. I've had friends that like this one, but don't like Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. And I have friends who like South Park and not Team America. So it's like, it's kind of weird. And I'm just like, okay, it's the same people. It's Parker and Stone. But I enjoy it, and I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'll get it. That's it. Significantly less than last one, but mainly because in the last year, just didn't really have, I don't want to say money, but it's just like effort to get anything. So I was just like, yeah, I can wait on that one. It was like, instead of getting like maybe 3, 4, or 5 every once in a while, just get maybe like 2. But yeah, that is the 4K update video of 2025. Maybe I'll do one next year. This is it. Like I said, it seems to be a trend where I do it every year. I mean, I did it last year, and then doing like looking to see which ones I didn't talk about, which I noticed in the second video there was 2 that I talked about that I already talked about in the first one. And I'm like, you idiot. But yeah, hope you enjoy the video, and if you want to see more like collection stuff, I plan to do more. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time.